When an aircraft leaves Gander's radar range, they are not on anyone's screen for 2,500 kilometers. That's about to change. New technology will be able to follow a plane even over the ocean. Canada, Ireland, and Italy have combined with the private sector to put in place a vast complex of GPS-type satellites that will keep in touch with airplanes no matter where they are in the world. With this increased surveillance over remote areas, planes will be able to safely fly much closer together. Approximately halfway across the ocean, our flight leaves Gander control and is picked up by Shanwick, the control center shared by Ireland and the UK. Continental Europe is not far away. Making his solo crossing of the Atlantic in an airplane was enough to make Charles Lindbergh the most famous man of his day. Now it happens literally thousands of times every day. In Paris, Thomas Bittard has reached the top of his profession, working at Roissy-Charles de Gaulle, France's busiest airport. In a few hours' time, he'll be handling the approach of our flight from New York. Thomas has been a controller for a long time, and that habit of control doesn't always stay confined to work.
Yes, Thomas and I laugh about it. I joke that I married a controller. He always has to be in control, not just as an air traffic controller. That's the way he is. He's a control freak. He'll finish my son's sentences. When I ask Elias or Eris a question, he'll answer instead. He checks my checking of their homework. He's in command. There's no room for spontaneity with Thomas.
When I talk to a pilot, when I give him an order, he'll not only tell me he's understood, he'll repeat what I said word for word because it's the safest way to demonstrate that he understood. And it's true that when I ask for something, if I don't get a response fairly quickly, I get annoyed. I can see how it might be irritating.
Like most air traffic controllers, Thomas has had his share of tough situations at work. One day, two airliners with hundreds of passengers on board came dangerously close. The memory still haunts him.
One of the pilots asked me to confirm several times. I asked to see the recording of the event because I took it very hard. My perception was that it had taken a long, long time and the planes had come very close. Not at all. It lasted 1 second and everything worked out fine. The passengers were unaware, neither pilot complained or anything. But that instant, when you're suddenly treading water, was very, very hard. In my head, I saw the two planes crash and fall right onto a neighborhood. And I felt like I was the worst criminal who had ever lived. Charlotte helped me a lot. She really pulled me out of there because for 3 days and 3 nights, it was tough.
I could tell that something was bothering him, and I remembered him saying it was important to talk, so I made him talk. And I kept him grounded in reality, because I realized what he was feeling for those 3 days, and in fact beyond, was as if the accident had actually happened.
Our plane is now partway across the North Atlantic, chasing the next morning's sunrise. Soon it will be over Europe and being tracked by Paris. Landing will be at Charles de Gaulle, and Thomas Bittard will be there. Like Steve Abraham in New York, his daily commute is a battle with stop-and-go traffic.
The big difference between traffic jams in the air and on the ground is that you can say to a car, stop, there are too many cars. But you can't do that with an airplane. That's what makes it hard. That's the source of the stress and also the excitement. You absolutely must find a solution. And that's what I love about Roissy-Charles de Gaulle Airport. That's what the people who stick with it love, and what makes it a pleasure to go to work.
Air France 1890, bonjour, laissez passer le 319 là en face de vous, puis roulez Roméo pour le point d'arrêt Tango 10 piste 26 droite.
There is a reason that air traffic control is primarily a young person's profession. The stress can be enormous.
Et en fait, c'est vrai que la pyramide des âges est assez spéciale.
It's true that the age range is fairly unusual. You don't find many controllers over 40, and that's because of the constant challenge of managing the traffic. It's stimulating, motivating, but over time it can get to be too much for some people.
Devenir un poids.
Air traffic control is always stressful, even if mostly everything goes well. You never know what will happen. Take the 25th of July 2000. That day, Gilles Laugelin was the controller for the takeoff of the supersonic jet, the Concorde.
It's eye-catching with its long nose. It was always a wonderful sight watching it take off. So I gave permission for Concorde to take off.
The Concorde takes a moment to gather momentum, but very quickly is speeding down the runway.
That day, and this is one thing a controller like me will never forget, the plane turned on the power, and shortly after it did, I spotted what looked like a flame coming from under the aircraft. I'd never seen a flame behind a plane like that in my entire career.
With flames coming from the back of the jet, Laugelin told the pilot the bad news.
You could cut the tension with a knife because it was something so incredible.
At the speed the jet was going, it was already too late to abort the takeoff, and just minutes later, with flames engulfing the wing, and with power failing, the Concorde crashed into a nearby hotel, killing all 109 passengers and crew, as well as 4 people on the ground. And still, Gilles Laugelin had to keep working.
We were handling a certain number of aircraft, a lot in fact, on final approach, and also those standing ready to depart on parallel runways. What was hard, as I remember, was under this huge stress of seeing something that should never have happened, keeping cool and carrying on working and getting the other aircraft to pull up and go around.
The Concorde crash was caused by debris on the runway, not by the fault of the air traffic controller. Nevertheless, it was hard for Gilles Laugelin.
The worst part of a controller's job is being in contact with a pilot and not being able to do everything you can to help.
Most controllers who are part of an accident, whether they are at fault or not, leave the job, not Gilles Laugelin. He still works to this day as a controller.
Maybe some have difficulty putting that behind them and regaining confidence. I'd just say that you can keep your confidence and go on working and manage to get around this difficulty.
The accident did not end Laugelin's career, but it did signal the decline of the Concorde. In 3 years, the sleek aircraft was retired from service.
East-facing arrival at Roissy, a 144-ton aircraft with 7.2 tons of gas in its tanks. So clearance of Orly plus 20 minutes, in line with requirements. Even as technologies evolve, air traffic control remains a tough job.
and the increase in air traffic isn't helping. This is especially true for controllers working the crowded skies of Europe.
United 990, descent level 60.
Half of the passengers on our flight will change planes in Paris and fly on to another destination. Having landed them in Paris, air traffic control will have to get them back into the air and through a confusing jumble of jurisdictions that will cause delays and inefficiencies.
Several countries in Europe are mandated to control the sovereign airspace of other states. We certainly pass through the hands of various controllers of different nationalities.
The Europeans are working on this problem. Eurocontrol in Brussels is leading a project they call the Single European Sky.
We are working with 28 European Union member states, with 40 Eurocontrol member states, and each of them, of course, have their own sovereignty over their airspace. Even more, we are working with 70 air traffic control centers. So all of those need to be put together through the Single Sky initiative.
The idea is that we're smarter and stronger together than alone. It's important to have unity, a common vision shared by all these countries, and a unified, standardized method of working.
The skies over Europe aren't united yet, and the future single sky will need some advanced technologies. Technology for most controllers has changed slowly. Their workstations are still rooted to the keyboard and the mouse. But in order to handle more flights, that will have to change. A French company, Thales, is working on the air traffic workstation of the future. It's called SHAPE.
I'm about to demonstrate the SHAPE system, which is our vision of an air traffic controller's workstation. It has some extra capacities that we've invented to provide controllers with this enhanced service. We've combined a number of technologies, in particular the eye tracker, which will enable us to point and select a flight using just the eyes.
Instead of the keyboard, basic hand gestures will do the same work. And instead of using a mouse to select a flight, the controller will be able to use his eyes. A simple glance will do it.
I just have to look at a flight for the eye tracker to select it. It knows exactly where I'm looking on the screen. Thanks to these innovations, we can save at least 70% of the time spent interacting with the system, which is quite a lot.
Still en route, our flight will soon be in range of Paris air traffic control.
And in 20 minutes or so, about 160 nautical miles, we'll begin our descent to Paris and pick up their control.
Advance 011, report your speed to Brest 130.235, goodbye. 120.235 is the speed of France 011, bye-bye.
This is the radar control room here at Roissy. From here, we manage the Paris airspace encompassing 120 nautical miles around Roissy, almost 200 kilometers. Our aim is to regulate flights in intervals of 100 seconds, given that there are 3 runways in use. Our triple simultaneous parallel approach is pretty rare. I think it's the only one in Europe. And that's what makes it so complicated when there's heavy traffic into Roissy. The big challenge for any control room is to handle whatever comes our way.
Ladies and gentlemen, a few details about the end of our flight. In 2 minutes' time, we'll be starting our descent towards Paris-Charles de Gaulle, where we expect to touch down on time at 11 o'clock local time and arrive at the gate 10 minutes later.
And what's arriving just now is our flight, Air France 011, now within range of Paris approach. Thomas will merge the flight with others before handing it over to the tower.
Air France 011 à droite, cap sud, descendez 5000 pieds 1015. Le boulot du pilote.
The pilot's job, his mission, is to safely land the plane and the passengers and get to the gate as soon as possible for commercial reasons. We don't manage a plane. We don't manage just one flight. Our job is to make it all work together. We manage the flow of traffic.
On gère des flux de trafic. Air France Hôtel India, réduisez la convenance.
And in fact, what makes a good controller is being efficient in spacing the planes. If I'm asked to leave 90 seconds between planes, I can do that without bothering my colleague next to me, who's also leaving 90 seconds on another runway, and without interfering with the departure controller who's putting his planes up. And at some point, the arrivals intersect with departures. With all that happening, you have to be good at what you do. Be aware of everything going on around you, attentive and concerned. Air traffic control is not just technical, in fact, it's very human.
And this is Air France Flight 011 coming in.
Air France 011, bonjour. Descendez 4000 pieds 1015, vent guidage 09 gauche, il n'y a pas de place au-dessus malheureusement.
Air France 011, contactez la tour 119-25, bonne journée.
Thomas Bittard and his colleagues at approach control have done their work. The plane is now on final descent. Soon, the tower controller will guide it to the ground.
Delta 170, can we give us about 30 seconds? Copy the cardiac ready. Okay, thank you. Bingo 42.
It is a constant mind, mouth, everything has to work together and has to work constantly.
That's the paradox. You go for that moment because without it, the job isn't interesting, if it's just a matter of talking to a few planes.
Taram 381, speak to 20 knots, descent level 80.
United 54, straight to join Bravo, then Foxtrot.
Always keep the airport moving. Keep it moving. That's what we tell guys, people who are training. You got to keep it moving. If an airplane stops, it's unhappy.
Voici Air France 011, au revoir, merci.
Air France 011, la tour 119-25, bonne journée.
Et je me rends compte par rapport à
From talking to friends, I realize what a luxury it is to enjoy going to work, to have a job you love. And whenever it is, even on the weekend or at night, I'm happy to go to work. I'm really lucky. As long as I feel like that, I'll stay.
Je reste.
Our flight is over, and the passengers have landed safely. The nervous flyers can breathe a sigh of relief. Others are already deep into the rest of their day. Some thank the cabin crew, perhaps the pilots. Virtually nobody thinks of all the men and women who work day and night to guide them safely throughout the flight. But they owe their lives to them all the same.